God created all human beings with equal number of eyes. God created the manager with 2 eyes. God created the clerk with 2 eyes. God created a driver with 2 eyes. God created a cleaner with 2 eyes. God created a gardener with 2 eyes. But when the clerk is earning less than the manager, it's no different from the clerk having 1 eye plugged and given to the manager. When the driver is earning less than a clerk, it's no different from a driver having 1 eye plugged and given to the clerk. When a cleaner is earning less than a driver, it's no different from a clerk having 1 eye plugged and given to the driver. When a gardener is earning less than a driver, it's no different from having a gardener having 1 eye plugged and given to the driver. But God created all human beings with 2 eyes. God created all human beings, all workers with equal number of eyes. God created all human beings with equal number of hands. God created all human beings with 2 hands. God created the CEO with 2 hands. God created the manager with 2 hands. God created an engineer with 2 hands. God created a scientist with 2 hands. God created a clerk with 2 hands. God created a driver with 2 hands. But when a CEO is a manager is earning less than a CEO, it's no different from a manager having 1 hand plugged and given to the CEO. When a scientist is earning less than an engineer, it's no different from a scientist having 1 hand cut off and given to the engineer. When an engineer is earning less than a scientist, it's no different from an engineer having 1 hand cut off and given to the engineer. When a driver is earning less than a scientist, it's no different from having a driver having 1 hand cut and given to a scientist. Yet God created all human beings with 2 hands. God created all human beings with equal number of hands. God created a nurse with 2 hands. God created a doctor with 2 hands. When a nurse is earning less than a doctor, it's not different from a nurse having 1 hand cut off and given to a doctor. Yet God created all human beings with 2 hands. God created the president with 2 hands, and God created a cleaner with 2 hands. When a cleaner is earning less than a president, it's not different from the clerk having 1 hand cut off and given to the president. Yet God created all human beings with 2 hands. God created a general with 2 hands. God created a constable with 2 hands. God created a sergeant with 2 hands. God created a captain with 2 hands. God created a colonel with 2 hands. God created a sergeant major with 2 hands. When a colonel is earning less than a general, it's not different from the colonel having 1 hand cut and given to the general. When a major is earning less than a colonel, it's not different from a major having 1 hand cut off and given to the colonel. When a captain is earning less than a major, it's not different from a captain having 1 hand cut and given to the major. When a sergeant is earning less than a captain, it's not different from a sergeant having 1 hand cut and given to the captain. When a constable is earning less than a sergeant, it's not different from a constable having 1 hand cut and given to the sergeant. Yet God created all human beings with two hands. The constable must demand his hand from the sergeant, and the sergeant must demand his hand from the captain. The captain must demand his hand back from the major. The major must reclaim his hand from the colonel, and the colonel must reclaim his hand from the general, because God created all human beings with equal number of hands. People must fight for equality. Fighting for equality is a religious duty. It is to fight for the restoration of God's will, because God's will is that all human beings must be equal. That is why He gave us all equal body parts, because God wants us to be equal. People must earn equally. What you do with your salary is your business. For one to be rich or poor, it's up to how we use this money. Whether you want to marry 100 wives or 1,000 wives, or you want to marry one wife, it's up to you. Whether you will be rich or poor after you receive your salary, it's up to you. But people must receive equal salary. Just as people are born with equal number of hands. A struggle for equal ownership is a religious struggle. It's a struggle to restore the will of God on earth. God created all human beings with equal number of body parts. God created all human beings with 2 eyes. God created all human beings with 2 hands. God created all human beings with 2 feet. God created all human beings with 10 fingers. God created all human beings with 10 toes. God created all human beings equally, and equally we must live. A struggle for equality is a struggle it's a religious struggle. It's a struggle to restore the will of God. What you do with your hands is up to you. What you do with your salary is up to you. Whether you want to marry every day or you want to be married once, whether you want to throw away your money or you want to spend it or save it, it's up to you. But people must be paid equally. People working together must be paid equally, just like all human beings have equal body parts. Because God is for equality, we must fight to restore equality on earth. We must fight for equal ownership.